Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fully Managed podcast. Thank you, Michael, for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Looking forward to our conversation today.
Thank you. So, today, to get our creative juices flowing, get us started on the podcast, and perfect theme for, like interrupting your workload and having a little fun time in between, we're going to play a game. This
Okay.
game is called Calm or Chaos. So, Um, I'm going to put you through a bunch of scenarios, and you are going to decide whether you think that this is something that you can kind of deal with, or like, and it'll be fine and everything will be like cool cucumber kind of style, or this is something that you need to fix right now, and this is something that is going to make you panic a little.
All right.
Alrighty, so ready to get started?
Let's do it.
Okay, first scenario, coming in hot. Your top employee quits the day before a product launch. Calm or chaos?
In all likelihood, it's going to be chaos unless the team is, structured enough where you have more than one person working on it. Now, if it's a small organization, it's probably going to be a whole lot of chaos. So hopefully, I know what the product launch is about because tomorrow's going to be a whole lot of fun if I don't.
I agree. It's hard to dig yourself out of if you're a small agency. That's the trouble with
Hmm.
that.
Oh yeah.
Um, okay, next scenario. You're triple booked for meeting and your calendar suddenly crashes.
That would be calm. Now, a lot of people go, "Oh my goodness, that's the worst thing ever." Now, as long as you have access to an offline calendar, like on my phone, it syncs. I tell people you got to be having some boundaries around your phone and all that stuff. But if things crash, at least I have a static component on there, and in all likelihood, I should be able to use technology and call people and say, "Oh, by the way, we're I've triple booked. Can we, shift this to tomorrow or next week or something like that?" And I should still be fairly accurate on that. But I've definitely had triple bookings, and even using calendar technology, uh, a lot of it will completely ignore a blocked off time and schedule something, and I'll look at it as like
Yeah.
I have that blocked off. So it doesn't work 100% of the time, but you just have to be flexible. And usually people are understanding and knowing who the three parties are in the meeting. I'll hopefully be able to go, yeah, this one's going to be okay with moving it. This one is
Yeah.
not. So that one we got to go with. And then the third one will be like, can we shift it there? It's like my meeting's running late. Can we shift it to there? And, there's, as long as you have a good relationship with these individuals and understanding, okay, which one could be mission critical if you miss it. You just have to use your best guess and go with what you need to go with. But I would be calm just because I'm organized when it comes to my calendar. And
Yeah.
but I know some other people that would be catastrophic.
Yes, they depend on it in a way that's almost too critical. I
Hmm.
completely understand. I think that there is people are very understanding, I think, with like schedule hiccups and different things like that. I think for the
Hmm.
most part, especially with even with the podcast, if someone reschedules or cancels and I have no reasoning, like no email or anything behind it, or like they just don't show up to a meeting, my first thought is not, and I think like if you're a caring person, your first thought is like, I hope they're okay, instead
Hmm.
of this person, darn, I'm really mad at them because they're wasting my time or whatever. I think it's more like, people are human. Like people's gonna have to be kind of more understanding of that. There were times many years ago, not that many honestly, that people were late to things all the time because it was just there wasn't this kind of fine-tuned technology, and
Right.
like it's not necessarily that it's inconsiderate all the time. It's just like life happens, like
Hmm.
your bus is late, your other meeting runs long. It's just we're just human beings trying to adjust.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, I'll give you one more scenario since we are we're really getting into it. Okay. Your email inbox hits 3,000 unread messages overnight. Calm or chaos?
I'm going to be more. Not that I'm going to add one. Confused. I'm like, wait a minute. Like, what happened here? And it's like I've got filters. Why do I have 3,000 in here? I would look at it and go, all right, let's say there was a campaign that I ran that, maybe it was a bunch of bounce backs, or maybe it was a campaign that went really well, and all of a sudden, all of those are order notifications. I might start leading into chaos, going, okay, I didn't factor to have that kind of level all at once, but eh. And that's something I tell people to do, and I have to preach that to myself. Is like, okay, what would happen if I put out an offer and someone is like, here, get this ebook for $7 or something like that? Is the system set up where I could have like thousands of people ordering at once? Even though
Mm.
that may not be the reality of it, I
It's
should
good
be
to
prepared.
prepare for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you're an agency and you're sending out, a broadcast blast for new potential clients and things like that, you could be prepared. The messaging may be on point where all of a sudden it resonates with a lot of people at once. Next thing you know, you come into the morning, you're like, wow, these actually look all legit. Okay, what do we
Mhm.
do? Well, come up with a system and say, we were, and literally go, and this is one of those things where you show the human side of things. Like, we sent out this campaign and we knew it was going to be popular. We way underestimated how popular it is. We will get back to you as soon as we possibly can. We thank you for this. In the meantime, here's this resource to take a look at. We will get back to you, and then take the necessary steps, whether it's outsourcing or getting some people just to do all the intakes and all of that. But you have
Mhm.
to kind of have a plan for it, and you prepare for it. It's better to be prepared and not have it happen than to be unprepared and have it happen. So, the more preparation you can do for something that would be absolutely amazing, but quite chaotic for a lot of people, it makes a lot of sense. But all depends on how prepared you are.
Yeah, it's similar to a product launch of like something that may unexpectedly go viral. Of where a lot of people have their websites are not set up to handle a certain amount of traffic,
Right.
and it's it makes sense if you're at this stagnant place for a while to not expect that. But if there's something that you're doing that is maybe different that you think has the potential to drive traffic, you may be setting yourself more up for success just to prepare for that just in case. But or
Exactly.
to have a plan for it if it does happen. And that I think is if you're being proactive in that way, then you're less likely to choose chaos.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're always choosing chaos, I'm just gonna say maybe talk to a therapist about that. There
Maybe,
might maybe. I'm not judging, but just maybe.
yeah, maybe it's like maybe you shouldn't have that immediate instinct of like, whoa.
Yeah.
I think that there are situations in which, um, whoa makes sense, but then there's situations in which, okay, we can deal with this. It's okay.
Hmm.
Like, no need to panic.
Right.
And that usually means that you're also setting yourself up for success a lot of times too, in which you have systems in place that is gonna
Mhm.
support you in times of potential chaos. But
Yep.
it doesn't work out that way because you're doing the right things.
Yeah. At least we try.
Yeah, exactly. Trying is practice makes perfect.
Mhm.
Maybe if you put an effort towards something that you thought were setting yourself up for success but it wasn't enough, that's okay. We do better next time. We deal with the chaos as it comes, and it's okay. We're
Yeah.
again, as we spoke before, we're just human beings.
Yeah. It's all a learning experience. We're all figuring this out as we go.
Yeah, exactly. So, tell me more about you and breakfast leadership. First, out of curiosity, and you probably get this a lot, is why the name? Why breakfast leadership? What does that phrase really kind of mean to you? Why do you think mornings matter so much for leadership?
Yeah, the name came to me in the shower. It's
As it
just like,
does.
yeah, just like my title that I gave myself, Chief Burnout Officer, again came to me in the
That's
shower.
awesome.
So yeah, it's just one of those things where you're just cleaning yourself up, and all of a sudden these ideas pop in your head. You're like, "Oh, okay, let's see if I can remember this. I know they sell technology and boards you can have a marker and write on the walls or something that they'll wash off if you need to. But thankfully I was able to remember those two phrases and do it. But the name Breakfast Leadership came to me, one, because in the work when I first launched my business, I was doing a lot of work with C-suite executives and senior leaders, and I found usually the only time you can get on their calendar is first thing in the morning before they get in. Because once they're in, they are in. They're in the trenches. Good luck. You're even if you get a meeting with them, their attention is not there. They're thinking about
Mhm.
everything that just got thrown on their lap this morning, the
Yep.
chaos, quite frankly.
Or it's
So
canceled because, it's interrupted by something that's happening, right?
exactly. So getting them early in the morning was good. So I'm like, all right, well, there's that. And when I was, coming up with the name for the organization, I'm like, what am I going to name this thing? And I'm like, well, it's leadership. Okay, well, that's pretty generic. All right, well, how? And then breakfast leadership came to mind. I'm like, okay, let's roll with that. And then check. Okay, is that domain available? Okay, yes. Okay, let's register that. All right, let's start getting the branding on point and get the logo and whatnot. And I have the phrase breakfast leadership and breakfast leadership network trademarked with the United States Patent Office. So actually, it's trademarked, which again, kind of surprised that I was able to do that because both are fairly common names, but combined together, apparently they weren't. So I'm thankful that I was able to do that. So,
Yeah, it's
it's
awesome. It's very uncommon that something unique comes of, the shower thoughts.
exactly. Yeah. So it was that. So I was doing a lot of work with leaders first thing in the morning, and then as I was working with them, I'd go in, to their offices and see their teams. I would go, "Ooh, wow! Not only are you burned out, so is your team." Okay.
Mm,
All right. Now what do we do about this? And I thought, okay, well, we have to approach it a bit differently because you have to understand the audience. Like the senior leaders, their approach to things is one way. The workers are could be different. And so it just did a lot of research. I had my own personal journey with burnout, so I knew what it was like and what the signs were. And when I saw it in organizations, I could literally I could go into a place and read the room and go, yeah, this place is definitely under some high stress. And
mhm,
the key thing is to figure out, okay, well, why? What's going on here? Is it inappropriate management styles and techniques and lack of communication? Is it just, they got that 3,000 inbox and all of a sudden, they are completely overwhelmed with the amount of work that they have and they can't bring on new people fast enough. What's causing all of this? And from there, you peel back the layers. Okay, well, let's come up with some ideas and some concepts that they're willing to attempt to try to ease the burden a little bit because a lot of people think, okay, it's got to be a complete revamping of the organization. And majority of the time, or even with individuals, you don't have to reinvent yourself if you're
mhm,
burning out. In my personal journey, I did. I chose to because the way that I was going about life wasn't in the best interest of longevity. So I
mm,
decided let's make some significant changes in my life, which did, but most people don't have to. It's just an adjustment here, a little bit there, um, getting a grasp. And we talked about the calendar earlier in the game. It's like your calendar it's your sidekick. It's the person or the thing that will keep you in check because it allows you to keep track of your work time and your non-work time. And for too many people, especially agency owners and people that are running business, they don't seem to have a lot of off time on their calendar, which is
mhm,
not sustainable. It takes a toll on you. I mean, you're not Superman. You're just, or Wonder Woman. You can't. We're not geared to that. Even machines, the machines running 24/7. Yeah, they have to go down for maintenance. So do we. And a lot of times people go and go and go and go until they get to the point of chronic fatigue. All of a sudden, they start developing some health issues because their body just isn't allowing itself to rest. If you don't
yeah,
rest, your body's gonna end up taking some shortcuts here and there, and eventually, that's why we see, and I worked in primary care for a long time. Every one of the chronic diseases out there, hypertension, cancer,
mhm,
diabetes, you name it, stress is a common component of it. The stress causes your body to not be able to do the things it needs to do to keep it maintained and healthy and balanced. And if you start shortchanging your sleep and you're constantly stressed, your body's going to take the energy to deal with that stress, which again takes away from protecting it from coughs, colds, COVID, cancer, you name it. And a lot of people say, well, you can get cancer from being stressed. Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
You can.
Mm,
You can have a heart attack because of stress. You can have hypertension or diabetes because your body is not fully operating properly because it's using resources to deal with the pressure and the pain of stress. So a lot of people are like, well, how do I get rid of stress? You can't. Life is stressful. Okay, just that's the
mhm.
nature of it. How you approach it and how you address it is the game changer, and figuring out how what quite frankly works for you. And everybody's a bit different, but there's some commonalities and some things that people can do to kind of help ease the stress so it doesn't turn into burnout, and then of course you start running into all kinds of other problems.
Speaking of those commonalities, what do you think are maybe the most core reasons as to why you feel like people get to this point of burning out or almost burning out?
A lack of boundaries is a big one. They don't have a they don't, and either if they're running the organization themselves or they're an employee, they don't have the boundaries of when they work and when they don't. These little devices are awesome.
Oh, do, do, do.
So these
Oh,
devices, oh, yep. So these devices are awesome. My brother gave me a nickname for my phone, called it my iBinky, because I'm always on it like a baby with a pacifier. So because it's a great device, and a lot of us love them because they allow us to work anywhere at any time. But it's got a negative side effect. We can work anywhere at any time, and we do. We constantly are doing it. Managers and owners are horrendous for sending messages, WhatsApp messages, Slack messages, all that stuff at all hours of the night. And our natural inclination when we see a little red circle on an app or a number or something like that is we have to address it. We have been conditioned to do so.
mm,
And we have to, as owners or employees, establish boundaries of when we work and when we don't. You can set limits on your apps. You can also put it into do not disturb mode. You can say, okay, after 6 p.m., I'm not looking at it.
mhm.
Even if it means if you have I know a lot of people have one device that's their personal device, but they also have work stuff on it. And as much as I would say, go get a second phone, that may not be financially optional for you because that's another cell phone bill. So ultimately, again, you got to have boundaries around when you work and when you don't. Get that clear from your boss. If you report to somebody, say, okay, I am available from here to here. If they say I need you available 24/7, go update that resume, please, and leave. I'm sorry. I have zero tolerance for a manager or an owner who says I need you 24/7. No,
Mhm.
that's against the law.
Impossible.
It's
That's
yeah, it's
awful.
it's yeah, it's against the law. I've seen people do that, and like you need to
Mm,
be available. It's like okay, if you're a firefighter and you're doing 24-hour shifts, makes sense. Emergency room physicians or clinicians, I get it. You have shifts like that, but your day-to-day office stuff, no, no, and it's ridiculous. And I know in agencies, your clients have those last second things that they need. We got a campaign, we want to roll it out tomorrow. They haven't sent you anything. Here it is, Friday at 4:59 p.m. and they want to launch it on a Saturday. I'm like, I need this copy, and they send you all this stuff, and you're like, dude, no. And again, that's where a relationship with your customers and your clients comes into play too, and you got to have
mhm.
boundaries around that. And I know a lot of agencies, especially startups and newer ones, they don't want to upset the client because they
Yeah.
need that revenue. But time and
Mhm.
time and time again, it doesn't matter what industry it is, I tell organizations, do you have a problem client? Yeah, it's like they're just constantly on you. It's like, and they give you a lot of money. Yeah, see if you can go find 2 or 3 small ones that'll make up for that
Place
income. As soon as you do,
them.
fire them immediately, and you tell them exactly to their face why you're firing them.
Yeah.
And, it's because you're gonna have 2 or 3 that are gonna love you and treat you right, and you're gonna have that one jerk client that doesn't. Well, send them on their way. And I know that's hard because you're like you're looking at all the revenue that you're gonna lose, but again, if you prepare. If they're going to be that way, prepare and cut bait, because otherwise what's going to happen is, as the owner, you're going to burn out, your team's going to burn out, and all of a sudden you're going to start losing those key people, like the example you gave at the beginning, that, project's due tomorrow. All of a sudden that goes, you know what, I hate this customer, they've been a jerk to me ever since we started. I'm dropping the quit bomb Thursday at 4:59 p.m. Adios, everybody. I'm out. And all of a sudden, you're like, oh, expletive. And you don't want to be in that situation. Don't put your team in that. Don't put your organization in that. So that's one
Yeah.
thing. So your calendar boundaries, one thing. Secondly, as an individual, you need to focus on getting the best amount of sleep. And when people are stressed, their sleep is garbage. They're not sleeping well. There might be some people that are chronically bad sleepers, and work with medical to in a variety of different areas to see if you can find a way to get at least improved sleep. But for most of us, if things are going okay, we typically sleep pretty well. But if you're stressed and under a lot of pressure, you're tossing and turning. So again, that's when your body, when you sleep, is repairing all the damage we do to ourselves on a daily basis. And guess what? If you're not sleeping, that repair is not getting fixed. So today's damage gets piled onto tomorrow's damage, and the
Mhm.
next day, and the next week, and the next month, and all of a sudden, maybe you've had some weight gain or weight loss. Maybe you're not feeling well. Maybe your gastro is off. Your digestive system is not good. It just goes down this rabbit hole of complete discomfort. So now, not only are you stressed and overworked and under a lot of pressure, your body is going, I don't feel good. Okay, well, great. Now you've got all these things going on, and that's when you just like, I don't feel like dealing with this anymore. And you just start getting stressed and burned out and checking out, and it's not a good sign. So get good sleep. Make sure you have boundaries around when you work and when you don't. Of course, I'm going to talk about food for a second. I'm not going to tell you to quit eating the Golden Arches or In and Out or wherever. I'm not going to tell you to stop doing that. I do suggest that you get a better understanding of how you feel after you eat certain types of foods. So
Mhm.
keep track of it. And I know there are certain foods that I eat. I actually had a food intolerance test done a while ago, so I know the
That's
foods that.
really cool.
Yeah, they tested me on 265 types of foods.
How do you get that done? That sounds awesome.
Usually there's some labs, laboratories will do it. There's I know there's several agencies that do it. What I'll do is afterwards I'll send you a link to a non-affiliate link or anything like that. I'll just here's some ideas of what where you can look at. But I had it done, and they tested me on things, and they gave me a beautiful report. It was color coded, so there was the pages where there were green. Green means, yeah, your body naturally breaks down these foods easily. It's as if they design these foods for you.
Mhm.
There's the yellow page, which is more of a results may vary. And so, that might be depending on what you pair it with, another type of food, you may be okay, but, watch it on this. And then there was a page that is red, which has different levels of severity where there's some that's like, yeah, you probably shouldn't eat this because you're going to have some, intestinal problems or inflammation or things like that, or to the extreme where you have a downright allergy to this, don't eat it, kind of thing. And
That is
so,
very
yeah, it
cool.
was very eye opening for me. And
Mhm.
what it did, it brought up what a lot of people deal with, and when they're not feeling good, your body tends to be inflamed, and that's when you feel aches and pains, and you feel bloated, or maybe your joints don't feel good. You're not feeling well, and a lot of times it could be what you ate that is causing some inflammation. So that's why, even without taking one of those tests, just document what you eat, and then you kind of check and say, okay, how am I feeling? And just, all right, any aches and pains? No. Vision, okay, good. Am I alert? Do I feel drained, groggy? And just kind of get a better understanding of how you feel. And too often we go through life on autopilot, and we have no idea how we're feeling. And I think it's in order for you to be the best optimum version of yourself, it's something that I suggest. It's something I do every day. I'll look at something like, what sounds good? This. I'm like, okay, if I eat that, how
How
am
will I
I
feel?
going to feel tomorrow? Or,
Yes.
is it going to give me any type of gastro or intestinal potential challenges? Especially, the night before or the day before, if I go to the airport, if I'm going to fly out somewhere, the last thing I want to do is be spending, all the time in the washroom because I ate something yesterday that isn't agreeing with me. And, now I
Mhm.
got to get on a plane and they don't let you, camp out in there. So watch, understand because it's like, oh yeah, that, those chili cheese nachos, wash it down with this and this. It's like, oh, it tastes so good. And then the next day, and you're curled up in a ball because your stomach's going, "What in the world did you just do to me?" Now, other people,
Mhm.
and this is completely unfair, can eat stuff like
Yes,
that, and
and they're fine.
they're on top of the world, and it's like, all right, I don't hate you, but I'm
A
not
little.
pleased. I'm not pleased. Yeah,
I'm jealous.
yeah, I'm a little jelly, so it's like, but again, you just figure out what foods there are. And I'm not telling people, okay, guess what? From now on, all you get to eat is kale salad. No, I'm not telling you that. I mean, your body is going to tell you what you can eat and what you probably shouldn't. And again, especially when you're going through a stressful time at work, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, what am I going to do? How do I prepare myself to navigate through this? And what
Mhm.
you eat, your sleep, your off time, you maximize those as much as you can so you get the best rest and you feel the best. So, because when you're feeling good, stressful situations, that's a tough phrase to say altogether, um, aren't as stressful because
Yeah.
you're able to navigate it. But if you didn't sleep well, you feel bloated or inflamed from what you ate, maybe you had an argument with your partner or something went wrong, and you're bringing all this negativity and baggage into a workplace that's already challenging, the work you do is not going to be good, and it's because you're not you haven't prepared yourself. It's like athletes; if they don't prepare properly, they're going to have a bad game, and half the world or most of the world will know about it because the sports shows will critique. Wow, they had a horrible game. You don't want to get that kind of coverage.
Yeah.
So you prepare yourself to be the best version of you every day. If you do that, you're going to have a good chance to be able to navigate through stressful situations a whole lot better.
I love that you bring this up too, because I think that so many people in any professional world, like not just agencies, I think that it's not talked about enough in the agency world because I think there's a lot of scrappiness expected,
Mhm.
and I think that it kind of leaves like mental health, physical health on the back burn a little more than in businesses where, corporate areas where people have been sued for treating their employees in a certain way. So then, maybe there's systems better set up, not everywhere, but
Right.
some systems better set up so that employees don't achieve burnout in certain areas. But I think the agency world, it's so much more likely because we're wearers of many hats, and you know, we're there's like things that are more expected of you and time that is more expected of you, maybe in a traditional position that it maybe wouldn't be. And I think that mental and physical health is not talked about enough in this area, and it should be. And the stomach thing is a brand new topic that I think is so important for people to understand about themselves. I completely understand this. More recently, I just got diagnosed with two different
Mm.
stomach related things I won't get into. But finding out about the food intolerance test is very cool because they recommended me to do the FODMAP thing, which is at home. But if someone could do this for me in a lab, that'd be great. But it is really important for, I think, any founder, CEO, any employee to
Mhm.
understand themselves, like to understand what makes them more stressed, what makes them more tired, what makes them more um, susceptible to, negativity. And that's not only foundationally taking care of yourself, but also understanding what works for you. Like there are people that maybe oddly enough, maybe sleep better during the day.
Hmm.
Like there are people that certain hours work better for them. Like they're more optimal during that time, or they're like they do better in this scenario. Like maybe they're not great at talking to clients, and that's like something that really burns them out. But
Right.
they're better at doing this kind of work. And I think understanding yourself best, of course, there's so many scenarios in which, you maybe don't have the privilege to be able to, move the way in which you'd like to, but you can at least set yourself up for success in the best way possible. And that comes with understanding yourself the most.
Yeah, it's important. And you mentioned a moment ago, how some people, sleep better during the day than at night. One of the things that came out from the pandemic for some organizations and individuals for sure is because of the shift of how and where we worked happened. In many cases, a lot of people who were parents, came to grips with the reality of their workday was often in unison with their kids' school day. And all of a sudden, the kids are home and they have to make sure that the kids are on the computer doing their schoolwork, their online learning, and not on their PlayStation or Xbox or Switch. And they realize, wait a minute, I'm a pseudo school teacher and I also have to work during the day. That's not working real well. How do I go about to fix this? And organizations that had some flexibility and said, okay, well, you know what? You can work later at night as long as you get the outputs and
Work on.
everything work done
Mhm.
and turned in. Here's the deadline, all of that stuff. So what happened in many cases, people recognized that they were more productive early in the morning or maybe late at night than they are during the quintessential 9 to 5. And
Yes.
as long as organizations were okay with that being when they worked, they realized really quick that their productivity levels went way up because they're just wired to be more focused and productive at those different times. And that's another thing that I have people do is to kind of get an understanding of, when are you most productive on the types of tasks that you work on. For example, let's say you do some creative and but then also you have to do some reporting and things like that. And the creatives, when you ask them to generate reports, unless it's like, can you create a beautiful template for a report, then they're all on it. But the
Mhm.
actual do the reporting side of things and the time tracking and this and stuff bores people to tears. So they're like, okay, well, when are you most creative? And some people might be in the morning, some people afternoon, some people evening. Well, that's when you do that creative work. And
Mm.
then the tedious stuff that you don't like, do it at a time where you're not as creative, but you are, more task driven. And
Mhm.
again, that all boils down to, again, having a better understanding of how you are. And there's ways to go about that. Energy tracking, okay, your focus, and time blocks. There's all kinds of different techniques that we can use to help people get a better understanding of when and where is their sweet spot of work. And if you can do your work during that time, the studies show and the stats show you get a lot more done in less time because your brain and your body, everything is working together, and you just operate in this flow that just you get a lot more done. I do it myself, and it's amazing how much I can get done. And what's so funny is I'm, an early riser. I get up pretty early in the morning, and I do a lot of work. And many times, my quote unquote work day, as far as the things that I wanted to get done, is done before 9 a.m. Now,
Mm.
some people are like, I haven't even got out of bed at 9 a.m. yet. How in the world did you get work? Well, it's because I got up 5 hours ago and I got everything
Mhm.
done because it's focused, it's quiet. There's routines and things like that, but the day-to-day hustle is taken care of. Now, after that, then what that does is it gives me the opportunity for the rest of the day to go, okay, what can I do that will move the needle forward, or creative, or meetings, or podcasts, or whatnot. And that's when I do them. And usually by mid-afternoon, my tank is going, yeah, we're done. And then, funny, at nighttime, as it gets closer to, when I should turn in, sometimes I'll get an energy boost. And I'm like, okay, I've got, 45 minutes or maybe an hour where I'm like the creative juices are just like, it's like somebody gave me a Red Bull for creativity, and I'm like, oh, let's go. And I used to fight it and go, I'm not doing it. I did it work. And I finally go, understand your flows and your energies. Like, go with
Yeah.
it. But keep in tabs. Don't wipe yourself out. Don't burn out. It's not good PR for somebody that talks about burnout to burn out. Okay, it's just that's not going to go well for me. So I have to, I know the signs, so I check myself. I'm like, sometimes I have this, oh, I'd like to do that. I'm like, all right, do I feel like doing that right now? Is my energies
Yeah.
where it needs to be? And if it's not, I'm like, don't force it unless it's like a deadline or something. Then they're like, all right, you screwed up and you didn't plan for this and you
Mhm.
do it. But, thankfully that's the exception and not the norm for me. But unfortunately, for a lot of people, that is the norm. And we got to figure out how to not make it the norm for you.
Yeah, that's something that I also, kind of along those lines, something that I really support is the idea of kind of meeting your employees where they're at in a
Mhm.
way of like if they're completing what they're supposed to be doing and it's on time, why does it matter when they're doing it? And I think that that's something that should be more like even just culturally accepted, because not everyone works in the same way, like the 9 to 5. I think I and it's good to see, but I think it's kind of dying out because of what happened with COVID, and good things do come out of something so
Mhm.
catastrophic sometimes. But I do think that people are recognizing, especially with remote work too, that that is just how it works sometimes. Of course, I understand needing to be reached in a certain amount of time because
Mhm.
if that's when someone else is working. But then with that, there needs to be some boundaries as well of like, well, I've already gotten my work done for today, and you're reaching out to me for this. And that is where I think maybe it gets a little more complicated, and that's why people get worried about having that kind of structure of do whatever you want whenever you want as long as it's getting done. I think that's why people like that kind of structure to their day, because they're thinking that that's most optimal and efficient for everyone, but it's not always the case.
Right. Yeah. A lot of managers, they expect their employees to work exactly like them, and that doesn't bode well, because you need different ingredients to make something. Because if you say, okay, we're only going to use this ingredient to make something, and we're not going to have anything added to it, so we're just going to have salt. Okay. um, we're not adding anything to it. There's no, we're not adding this to a type of meat or a vegetable or anything. No, just salt, because that's what I do. Just salt. Well, you're not going to have anything that anybody wants to consume. You think it's great, but no one else will. So when it comes to this, I think back to a boss that I had over a quarter century ago, and I remember the first day of working. It was an IT role with a .com startup, and he came to me at my cubicle at 3:32 p.m. I remember the time specifically. It's a long time ago. Don't ask me what I had for breakfast yesterday. I can tell you this because it was such a pinnacle moment in my time there and also my career. He
Hmm.
came in, he says, okay. He leaned on, kind of the cubicle wall. I said, okay, I'm just going to establish some ground rules. And I'm like, okay, here we go.
Oh god.
And he looks at me and says, I don't care when you get here. I don't care when you leave. As long as you get your work done, everything's good. Here's my cell phone number. I'm in this office on Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays. I'm in the Virginia office Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Message me if you need anything. Have a lot of fun here. And I'm like, what?
Whoa.
And I'm like, and I thought to myself, and I was young in my career still, and I thought, you know what? If I ever have the opportunity to manage or lead people, I'm using that line.
Yeah.
Because it told me he trusted me to do what I needed to do, and it made it very easy for me to go to him when I was like, "Okay, how do we do this?" Oh, talk to Jim about that, or okay, Russ will help you with that, or Stacy in HR has some ideas on that because she used to work at this organization that did that kind of work. So let's do that. And I got accolades, I got awards, I got bonuses. I was one of the go-to people. Why? Because they trusted me. And I'm like, all right,
Yep.
trust is earned. Trust can be lost pretty quick. I'm like, I'm not going to lose trust here. So that's
Yeah.
good. And that was during a time too when, especially, to date myself, during the dot-com days, there was a huge shortage of talent. So you'd get calls all the time from companies wanting you to come work for them, and they were giving you some significant salary increases because they had to, because that was the only way they could get talent. So my career was, booming at that point, but I started turning people down. I'm like, no, I stayed it out because I'm like, yeah, okay, I can make an extra whatever a year
But this
working
is a good
there,
deal
but
and
this is a
position.
good deal, and I have room for growth and opportunities, and I get to do some fun stuff. And I had a $6 million IT budget that I could play with. So ordering, which was at that time, I was like, this is awesome. I get to
That's
buy all
insane.
this cool stuff, and and build all these data centers, and go and travel and set up servers and go to different places, and just it was an absolute blast that I had there. And the reason why it was fun is because I don't care when you get work done. I don't care when you go home. Just get it done when it's due. Everything will be good. And
Mhm.
I don't ever recall being late on anything there. And I was there
Mhm.
for, oh, 3+ years, which in IT world is like a lifetime. Uh, but life circumstances and things change, and ended up having to relocate. And it was, kind of difficult to leave that role, but it was a fun place to be. And it was just, I'm like, okay, if I ever have a chance to lead somebody, I'm gonna lead off with that one. I'm gonna create an environment for people to grow and thrive. And as a agency owner, or someone running a business, even if you're the employee, you can create your environment where you thrive, and it'll get noticed, and people will buy in, and they'll go, you know what, we like the way that they're doing it. It's like, okay, yeah, Shannon's doing an amazing job doing this, because they just bring all this energy, and they quality work, and are just a decent human being, and they just seem like they're having the time of their life. Why? Because you are, and you're just having a blast. So that's my one bit of advice for people. It's like, if find that person, find that leader. If it needs to be you, then so be it. Let it be you.
I think that is a perfect way to round up this podcast. You had like a perfect succinct message to give at the end, which is absolutely incredible. I I really do appreciate you coming on and talking about this, because I think that it's still, I think it's approaching no longer, but I think it still is sometimes a taboo topic
Yeah.
to talk about in this hustle bustle world that is agency going. But I do think that people need to consider this way more than they do at this current climate. But it's definitely something that I'm seeing a trend upward, and people discussing that this is a problem. And I think it's because unfortunately more people are dealing with burnout and realizing that, like, how did I get here? And I really do. It is wonderful to talk to someone like you who is, almost pioneering a space of, like spreading awareness on this, and helping people figure this out, because it really is. I think it makes you more productive. It makes you happier. Makes your employees happier. And I just appreciate everything that you brought to the table today.
Oh, thank you, Shannon. It was great talking with you, and I loved our conversations. And I hope that people, if they're struggling with burnout, that'll, go get some help on it. Breakfastleadership.com is a great place to find some resources. Send me a message. More than happy to help you out in any way that I can.
That will also be in the description for everyone looking at the video. So I hope you guys can check it out, and have a lovely day. Thank you so much for listening and watching and learning.